Welcome back. If you just joined us, it is Daybreak Africa still, and today is Democracy Day. Like we rightly said, we shall be taking a look at topics concerning or surrounding today. As we take a look at the topic, Democracy Day 1999 to 2024, in brief. Now, Democracy Day is a national celebration to commemorate the return of democratic rule in 1999. Before 2018, it was celebrated on May 29th, but after 2018 or on 2018, it became June 12th annually in the nation. To discuss this, discuss today, as well, we have our guest in the house. He is Dr. Akinlo Taiwo, a lecturer, Department of Economics, AFUED, Ondo. He has an ordinary national diploma, OND, in Economics and Statistics, a BSc, Bachelor of Science in Economics from the University of Ado-Ekiti. He obtained his MSc, Master of Science and PhD, Doctor of Philosophy from Obafemi Awolowo University. Is also a member of the Council for the Development of Social Sciences Research in Africa. It's so nice to have you on our show this morning.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we're taking a look at democracy, Nigerians' democratic rule from 1999 to 2024. Like we all know, it hasn't been smooth sailing for the nation because we've had military incursion, military rule pre-independence in the nation before, of course, what we're experiencing now, the democracy that is 25 years old. If it were a human being, it would be 25 years old. But give and take in all of this, we'll want to take a peek at your mind as you take us down memory lane on the democracy that we enjoy now. Again, not forgetting to mention how the military has influenced our journey.
Okay. Well, we know that since Nigeria regained our independence in 1960, and by 1963 we became a republic, Nigeria Federal Republic in 1963. And then we know from 1966, military took over of the affairs of our country, and we have coups until 1979 from 1979 to 1983, where we had a brief democracy, and then the military took over again, and they were in the affair until 1999. If I want to look at the journey, I will say it is not an easy journey. It's not an easy journey at all, because the military, they were not ready to leave. And then the citizens, we have to fight again and again, just like we forced them to go. They were not willing to leave.
The Babangida must go era.
Exactly, the Babangida must go era. So it was a battle. Eventually, even though when we even had the election, and we had a winner, they even announced the election. So, but thank God today, democracy has been on for 25 years.
Indeed, it's 25 years of long journey. I tend to wonder, what are significant challenges have Nigerian faced in this 25 years democratic journey so far?
Our challenges are many. Let me start from the area of economic instability. For the past 25 years, we have been experiencing economic instability. We have been facing, particularly now, we are facing problem of high inflation. We are facing the problem of depletion of foreign reserves. And then we want to talk about insecurity in Nigeria today. We want to talk about terrorists, talk about militancy. We are talking about so many agitations from various groups or regions like IPOB, so on. So we have so many challenges. Talk about poor infrastructures in Nigeria today. We talk about high level of poverty in Nigeria today. So we have so many challenges.
What about leadership? What about leadership?
Leadership is also part of
let's
it.
take a look at our leadership from 1999 up till 2024. In your opinion, as we place democracy side by side by the type of leadership that leaders we've had in the nation. Again, you started by talking about the military incursion, the fact that we had military rule in certain periods of our lives before the democracy that we now enjoy. Well, there was democracy, a break, the military came back, then of course we have this 25 years that we've had. Take us from your eye, let us understand how leadership has impacted our democracy from 1999 up till this time.
Yeah, let me say that actually, including me and other Nigerians, we are expecting far, far, far more from our leaders compared to what we are getting now. Honestly, majority of us, we are not satisfied with our leaders. To us, they perform below our expectation. They perform below our expectation. Like me, personally, I cannot say that I'm disappointed in them because actually most of them was not expecting much from them, because some of them, because they were not prepared for leadership. Most of them, they were not prepared for leadership. They just have the opportunity and they become the leader. And like we used to say, you cannot give what you don't have. If you look at leaders from other countries, they actually prepare. They actually go there to go and serve, and they were ready to deliver. But in our own case, most of them, they get there without adequate preparation. So I think that actually affects their performance.
Now, personally, I tend to wonder how democracy tends to affect our economy in Nigeria. Being an economist, I tend to ask, has it really tend to improve or stagnate our economy as a nation?
Well, we have actually, if we want to compare our economy with the military time or military regime, we can say that our economy is far, far better. For instance, our GDP now is just like, it has increased almost 6 times more than the military regime. Though people can say that they can't see the benefit of that increase in GDP, but our economy in terms of GDP is far, far bigger than that of military regime.
No, the GDP could be a factor, product of many factors. Of course, we have over 200 million persons, so it's only reasonable for one's GDP to increase in that light. And so you want to really compare using GDP as a yardstick. Is that really a correct indices?
No. No. For economists now, we use per capita, GDP per capita. That is what we normally use to capture the performance of the economy. But our GDP per capita is very low.
Okay.
Do you know why? We can't see the benefit of that increase in our GDP. It's just like only few people are benefiting because of corruption.
So it's safe to say democracy has not slowed.
Because our income is very low. Our income is very low. If we compare what workers are collecting to what politicians are collecting. So we have high level of income inequality. Majority are poor, while few people are very rich. So what we are now saying is that even though the GDP is increasing, but people are not actually benefiting from it.
In essence, democracy has not affected our economy positively. Is that okay to put it that way?
Well, some people might not agree.
Okay.
Some people might not agree.
Do you agree?
I agree to some extent. I agree to some extent because military era was not the best for us.
But a lot of people have argued that Nigeria has a type of democracy that is different from the democracy practiced in other climes. Democracy practiced outside the shores of Africa is different from the democracy that we practice in Nigeria. And that's one. And others have also added that the military rule in the nation has affected the type of democracy, the eventual democracy that we practice in the nation. If you put both of these assumptions side by side, it's something to take a look at. I don't know how you react to these two assumptions, as it were.
Okay, you mean that
Nigeria has a different democracy, different from what is practiced elsewhere, and the fact that we have this history with military rule. Others argue that military rule might have influenced the democracy that we have in the nation. So I'm asking if you agree to both.
Yes, I'll agree. Yes. No, we know that democracy is the same, but the way democracy is being practiced across countries differs. Are you getting me?
It's not peculiar to Nigeria? Is that what you're saying?
Not, yes, it's not peculiar to Nigeria.
Okay.
It just depends the way you want democracy to be in your own country. So that's we have it. The same democracy we are practicing is the same they are practicing in other countries, and you can see the result. But it just depends on the way the people in that nation the way they want to practice their democracy, and that's what will determine maybe they will benefit from it or not.
So has the military affected the type of democracy that we practice now?
Definitely.
How, in your opinion?
No, we talk about the Nigerian Constitution, 1999 Constitution, are prepared by military. And we are still using it today.
The Abdulsalami
exactly.
Constitution, exactly, as it's called in quote.
Exactly. And that is what we are being used today. And since that time, we've seen the two amendments, but do we actually have the time where everybody will come together?
But don't we have the time? We are over 200 million. Like I said earlier while we were discussing, this is the biggest black nation in the world. Before it was 1 Nigerian to 10, now we have like 3 Nigerians to 10 anywhere the sun shines in the world. This is a country where two rivers meet, and we've been professed to be great people. Nigerians in diaspora excel at everything they do. Nigerians are stars in every nation they find themselves. Lately, people want to become Nigerians. So if we have all these as our resume, why is it impossible for us to sit as a people, as intelligent as we are, to carve out a nation that is befitted not only for our today, but for children yet unborn?
Okay, we need to look at Nigeria. One of the reasons why Nigeria differs from other countries is because of our diversification. We have so many ethnic groups. We have so many many tribes, unlike other countries, and that one has been giving us serious challenge in Nigeria today. That is why it is very difficult for us to come together to put things on ground that will favor all the ethnic groups. Like I said the other time, if you study the 1999 Constitution that we are using today, you will discover it favors some regions. And those regions don't want any change because they know if there's major amendment, it will not favor them. So it's just like some regions, they want something that will pay them, and they don't bother about the other regions. And that's exactly because of that diversity, and they are fighting for their own region. And that makes it very difficult for us to come together and then fashion out something that will be for the benefit of the whole nation. So we cannot rule out that diversification is actually affecting us as a nation.
Now, you said democracy is peculiar to us as a nation. Sometime last year, we had a series of coups within our neighboring countries, talking about Niger, Chad, amongst others. And I tend to wonder. Now, the funny thing for me was that the people, in that nation tend to rather celebrate the military coup instead of, mourning and crying. So it was more like, thank God democracy is off our hands. I mean, it was quite insane for me. It calls for attention. And I tend to wonder, understanding our own a peculiar system of democracy in this nation, and it's one which I know for a fact not everybody is exactly happy with. Are we really treading towards that direction of military invasion or coup, something of that nature at any point in time, even if you're not there yet? But are we more like sailing towards that direction?
Thank you. You see, if you look at things that are happening in Nigeria today, it can make somebody to think in that line. Because we want to talk about unemployment, income inequality, insecurity, militancy, terrorism, economic instability. I mean, that was exactly what happened in the past that brought the military. And all those things are still happening today. And then if you go to the street, you will discover that many people are not happy with democracy. Why? Because of high level of corruption. You see our leaders, we just wake up one day in the morning, you just said that somebody stole 90 billion, 89 billion. I mean,
fish swallowing some money.
Exactly, all kinds of
snake
ridiculous.
Swallowing some money.
I mean,
exactly. Rats eating 50 billion naira, and stories like that have come up.
So, and most of these things, some of them, I mean, they were not happening during the military regime. I'm not saying that there was no corruption, but corruption was not as high as this. We have so many people that are involved in politics today. At the same time, corruption is also wide as that. So that's exactly what is happening. So that's exactly why our neighboring countries, when they came back, they welcomed them, because they see that the politicians were not actually helping their economy. They are only after their own interest.
Now, democracy is supposed to around federalism, as it were. We're talking about our democracy. It is shocking to see that our neighbors, not distant neighbors or distant Africans, celebrate the return of the military, totally murdering democracy in their nation. We saw the celebration on videos, on television, on social media. And yes, we're talking about our democracy. Democracy is supposed to bring in federalism, around it, as it were. Do we practice? Have we enjoyed? Have we smelt? Have we touched federalism since our nascent democracy?
The answer is no. In Nigeria today, though, on paper, we are practicing federalism, but in reality, we are far away from federalism.
Why the paradox?
Because we have the power is concentrated at the federal. We're supposed to have devolution of power, where we have the local government, we have the state, but it is not so. When we are also talking about the management of resources, the resources are being managed at the central level. So states are not allowed to be in charge of their own resources. Talk about allocation. The state government, the local government, the state, they depend on the federal allocation. That is not the style of federal system of government. Federal system of government, the state will be what? They will not be depending on the federal. They will manage their resources for their own, for the benefit of their state. But in our own federalism, everything is at the federal level. So we are not practicing true federalism in Nigeria as of today. And until we go back, we might not see the development we are actually looking for. Because if we look at what happened when we were practicing, regional government, see, look at what Chief Obafemi Awolowo did at that time, the first television station in Africa. Look at OAU. As a university, look at what the structures there. Everybody at that time, they were after their regional development. But since we are practicing, let me say, limited federalism now, we don't see that kind of development anymore. So if we can actually go back to true federalism, I can assure you that we are going to see serious changes and development in Nigeria, because states will be forced to go back and look for the opportunities available in their states. All those resources that are wasting now, they'll be forced to develop them and then increase their revenue. But as far as they are still depending on that all revenue from the federal government, we cannot experience the rapid development we are looking for.
Yes, if you just joined us, it is Daybreak Africa. We've done the fourth part of our discussion. We shall be taking a break to bring a report, and when we return, the discussion will continue. In honor of this year's Democracy Day, the federal government has announced Wednesday, June 12th as a public holiday. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, the Interior Minister, congratulated Nigerians on the occasion in a statement released today by Dr. Aishatu Ndiyako, the ministry's permanent secretary. According to his statement, he urged all Nigerians, while celebrating another Democracy Day in the history of the nation, to reflect on the efforts of the founding fathers and to ensure that Nigeria remains a united, secure, peaceful, and indivisible entity. He also pleaded with Nigerians to hold faithful to the principles of democratic government. According to Tunji-Ojo, President Bola Tinubu is dedicated to enacting constructive measures to boost security and the country's economy. Welcome back. It is still Daybreak Africa, and our guests are still here. Before we went on the break, we were talking about true federalism, and our guest made us understand that it is not yet Uhuru for Nigeria in terms of that. Now, we're talking June 12th. I did say from the onset that before now, June 12th wasn't the date our democracy was celebrated. It was May 29th. But a shift happened in 2018 when Muhammadu Buhari, the then president, changed the date. My question for our guest is, what is the significance of the date in the celebration of our Democracy Day, or our democracy as it is right now?
Thank you so much. Let me say the change of the date from May 29 to June 12, personally, is a welcome development for me, and I believe that it is also acceptable to many Nigerians. It's just a way of honoring our past heroes, those people that fought for the democracy we are enjoying today. We should not forget some people, they lost their lives while fighting for democracy. If you can still remember, even the election that was announced by the military, Chief MK Abiola actually died for democracy. He died in prison, if we can still remember. So if the government just decided that, okay, let us honor this man for all his efforts and then change the date to June 12th, it's not a bad idea. However, personally, it is not the date that matters to me, but the benefit of that democracy is what matters to Nigerians now. So days, if we go out and you are asking people questions about the date, they will tell you, what are you saying? We are hungry. You are talking to us about Democracy Day. So we cannot appreciate that day why people are suffering, why people are not safe in their homes. So people will not appreciate that day. What we are clamoring for now, the best way we can enjoy that day is for us to enjoy the dividend of democracy.
So in essence, you're trying to say we are not enjoying dividends of democracy in this nation?
Yes, we are not enjoying it the way we are expecting it. We are managing.
Well, I think I had opportunity to speak with someone, and we're trying to really make a little comparison, between the pre and the post-democratic era. And we're talking about infrastructure. Now, this person tends to argue rather very wisely that the major infrastructure we have in this nation has been one existing pre-democracy era. And for 25 years, this government has, the government has not been able to do anything to, beat or outbeat that which has been done prior 1999, which seems to be a very good argument. Now, of course, adding to what you spoke about as to the benefit of democracy, we know for a fact insecurity has been one really plaguing this nation, talking about food security, talking about safety of lives and property of people, and all that. So it's more like, I know you're trying to be polite and be mad with your words, but people really tend to argue forcefully saying we are not enjoying the dividends, the benefits of democracy. Now, what's your take as to the infrastructure and the proper dividends of democracy?
Yes, partially I will agree to them, but I cannot say that there's no improvement at all since 1999.
Okay.
I cannot say that we have not benefited at all from democracy. But the major thing is that the situation we find ourselves now, we are expecting we expect things to be better than this. And that was the hope of many people at that time. That was exactly why people were clamoring for democracy, because they thought that democracy will offer them better dividends. But now, many people are disappointed. For instance, now, look at poverty now. Poverty is increasing. Can you remember some time ago, Nigeria became the poorest nation in the world under democracy? So people, I cannot say that we actually, what we are gaining now is far below what we are expecting. And people are not happy because they are expecting
I had a
more.
guest that actually sat right there, and he spoke about an era where they had inflation during the military regime. I can't remember whose regime exactly. And he said there was a really serious inflation, and within a month, everything got turned around. But here, we suffer issue of inflation year after year. In the year.
Probably talking about austerity measures.
Inflation.
It was probably. Sorry to cut you. The austerity measures was during Muhammad Buhari's time, right? That's when we had austerity measures.
And from there went from inflation to depression and whatever name we could actually target at that point. Now, when it comes to democracy, it has to be a government where people has say, I could be confident to put you into power. And I could tell you to your face, you're not doing well. I know I have that power to get you off that seat and then bring in somebody I believe could do well. Now, although you said democracy as a nation is quite peculiar, unique, I tend to wonder what sort of modification do we need in our democracy? How can we tweak it for the best? Because in this case, democracy where we are not certain I kept you into power and I'm not certain I could get you off. Is it really democracy? I really tend to ask that question. So how could we modify our sort of democracy if we can as a people?
Okay, before I answer that question, let me go back to what you first said about inflation.
Oh,
that
yes.
when it happens during the military regime,
Yes.
they were able to solve the problem within short time. Yeah, our situation is more. The situation we are in now is more difficult than that period.
Okay.
Let me tell you, now our productivity is very low in Nigeria today. What are we producing in Nigeria now? I'm talking about the reason why we have inflation now. Our productivity is very low. We have abandoned agriculture. Our real sector, they are not performing. Recently, you discovered that many multinational companies, they are leaving Nigeria. You know the implication, what they are producing in Nigeria, we will start importing them now. So many small business, they are collapsing. Companies are leaving, and our productivity is very low. So we are importing nation. Even though the oil, I'm talking about motor spirit now, the one we extract from here now, we have just to export it to other country.
They refine it.
We refine it and
buy
we
back
import
again.
it back to us. So that's exactly why we in any country where you don't produce, inflation will occur. And you can't handle that situation until you increase your productivity. So all the measures the government they are putting in place to handle inflation, they will not work until we go back to productivity. So that is exactly what happens. It's just like when demand is greater than supply. What will happen to the price? The price will go up. And the only way to handle that situation is to increase supply so that there will be equilibrium. In what we call the equilibrium in economics, demand is equal to supply. So until we increase our productivity, they might not be able to solve the problem of inflation. So then back to
modification.
Modification. Okay, thank you. So what we can do is to adopt true federalism.
Okay.
That's my advice. If we can go back to true federalism, I believe that we will experience rapid economic development. Now that will offer the states the opportunity to tap the resources that are available in their states rather than to be depending on federal government allocation every month. It's because of that allocation. You see, so many states, they don't want to go back to agriculture. They abandon agriculture because of oil money. So if we are practicing states, particularly those states that don't have oil, they will look elsewhere for fund. And their eyes will be open to all those
There's
resources.
oil in those states.
Yeah, I'm talking about other states.
Okay.
I know we have oil, but I'm talking about other states that don't have oil.
Okay.
They will survive. Do you think if we don't have oil in Nigeria, we will not survive? Before the discovery of oil, we were doing fine. Our economy was doing fine. The problem is that the oil money make us to be lazy in Nigeria today.
Okay, now I talked about the date, June 12th. We can't continue personally. I feel we can't continue the discussion without going back to the significance of the date, June 12th, because again, from the onset, it wasn't June 12th, but something made us change from May 29th to June 12th. And from history, one of the most significant post-independence event can be traced to this date, June 12th, because on June 12th, the nation, Nigeria, stood still for one man. It's the general consensus that the entire nation voted for the very first time beyond ethnic bias, beyond religious sentiment, despite the fact that the nation then and now is still being held under the grip of religion or religious sentiments, as it were. But it was broken on that particular date. And we can't talk about that date without referring to MKO Abiola and the sacrifices that you said that that man made for democracy, which is the symbol which the date represents. So let's take a look, because for all the generation like you and I, June 12th is symbolic for us, because not only the fact that it was the first election, presidential or democratic election after the military incursion that we had, but let's take a look at the significance of this date. Of course, bearing in mind the man that is the face of the date. There's no way you mention June 12th without Abiola coming into mind. How do you think Nigerians, government on and off since 1999, has handled or paid back the Abiola family since he's not here? How has that sacrifice that Abiola made impacted us as a people and our democracy? Do you think that there's been any impact, any change, as it were? Or, like you said, it's just the date that will ring a bell to?
Yeah. I know if you ask Abiola today, you demand, or anywhere if you can see him anywhere now, and you ask him about democracy, I know the man will be disappointed. I know he will say that this is not what I am expecting as regarding Nigeria, as concerning democracy. You see, the reason why we, like you said the other time, the reason why we value that June 12th, you mentioned it the other time, that was the first time we had the best election in Nigeria. And we should not forget it was a Muslim ticket, and nobody cared at that time. And then it was because people had so much belief in Chief MKO Abiola at that time. We should not forget the man was one of the richest men in the world at that time. People knew that this man is not coming to steal money. They believe that this man is coming to actually build our economy and make life better for us. So people actually had much belief in him at that particular time. And that's why they did not even remember that the president and the vice president,
it was never an issue.
At all. But people, and in addition to that one, we have gone through hell of military regime. We wanted change at that time. So we had no choice to support him at that particular time, and knowing that the man will deliver. So yeah, we can't forget that particular date in Nigeria today, either in Nigerians or in an Abiola family. But I believe you mentioned about maybe the country rewarded the family. I can't say. I can't really say. Maybe the country is giving them the honor they deserve because of the sacrifice of that man. I can't say. But actually, to me, I know the man actually died fighting for democracy in Nigeria.
I tend to wonder the role democracy tends to play in challenging the issue of corruption in Nigeria. Has democracy tend to, limit corruption, or has it rather, foster corruption in this nation?
You see, in economics, there's something we call institutional quality.
Okay.
We have 5 measures for that. We talk about government effectiveness. We have democracy accountability. We have I cannot remember. I'm not sure I can remember all of them now. Rule of law. If you look at those measures, you will discover that the rule of law is very low in Nigeria. That's exactly why you see somebody will steal billions of naira, and that person will be walking free in the street. Somebody who stole a goat will be in prison. Why? Because they can find their way against our law. The rule of law is very weak. Then government effectiveness is also weak. So our institutions are very weak, and that is exactly what is slowing us down as a nation. We need to improve our institutional quality. And that's why if we compare Nigeria to developed countries, what is actually helping them is their institutions. You cannot just come there, steal money, and get away. The system is already there. But now in Nigeria, we don't have that system at all. We don't have that system at all. Our institutions are very weak. And that one is slowing us down. Don't forget, if you steal in Nigeria and they send you to prison, that means you are not connected to the people at the top. If eventually they sentence you to prison, that means you are out of favor with people at the top, and they can still receive presidential pardon. So in an economy where we are experiencing that one, it will be very difficult for us to move forward.
So as we round up, I wish we could go on and on discussing the topic. Time is never a friend. As we round up, we want you to tell us something about the vision you have for Nigeria, the Nigerian dream. The Americans have the American dream. As we celebrate Democracy Day today, what vision do you have for Nigeria? Where do you want to see us go in our democracy?
Yeah, my vision for Nigeria is very high. I want a nation where people will live, people that will have high standard of living. I'm talking about a nation where people will be able to walk about in the day and the night and nobody will be threatening their life. I want a nation where there will be peace and security. I want a nation where the citizens, they will be able to be proud of their nations. So that's what I want for Nigeria.
Well, we want to thank our guest, Dr. Akinlo Taiwo, lecturer, Department of Economics, AFUED, Ondo State. We want to thank you for being our guest on this very special day in our history. We hope that you come again on a very softer note where we can discuss other issues. We want to thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
So that's the show for today. Ensure you celebrate with a little bit of caution today. Nigeria is the only nation that we have, and together, not separately or divided, can we build the nation of our dreams. Thanks for watching the show today. I am Anire Binitie. Stay safe and happy Democracy Day.
You do have a great day. Happy Democracy Day once again. And I remain Ezekiel Ogar.